These gym mistakes will hold you back. Let's dive in. Welcome to a Healthy Control podcast, providing education to create a healthy, balanced lifestyle, empowering you to take control of your health and not let health take control of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of the day it is for you. Hope you've had or are going to have a great day. Now, I'm super excited about this episode because it's one of those times where I get to look at all the mistakes I've made over time and help you not make the same ones. But first, let's go to health class. So today's lesson is all about sunshine and vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is referred to as a sunshine vitamin, and it's a vitamin our body produces when it's in the sun. And really, you don't need a whole lot, about 10 to 30 minutes once or twice a week. For people who are more fair skinned, you're going to need less time, and the darker skin you are, the more time you're going to need in the sun to get the same amount of vitamin D. Also, the more north you live or further from the equator, the longer time you're going to need to spend in the sun. But again, it's still 10 to 30 minutes, a couple times a week, so we're not talking 10 minutes versus 4 hours a day. And as always, be careful with the sun. You don't want to get too much exposure, sunburn, risk of sun cancer, and those type of things. So there is a fine line between getting enough sun and then getting too much. But let's say for whatever reason you can't get any sun. So how else can you get vitamin D? Well, it's in some foods. It's not super common, but it's in your fatty fish like your salmon, your tuna, your trout. You can also do cod liver oil. It's in there as well. And then some fortified foods as well. There's fortified like whole milk with vitamin D. You can get like fortified orange juice, cereals, and yogurts. Are these as good as the sun? Probably not, but it's better than nothing. Egg yolks also contain a little bit of vitamin D. So for all of those egg white only peoples, you need to maybe eat an egg yolk. Some types of cheeses and then some types of mushrooms will also have some vitamin D in it. And what does this vitamin D actually do? I've always heard of it, but it's not something I really knew much about. More or less, it plays a pretty big role in maintaining healthy bones by helping absorb the calcium. As we get older, our body and our bones become more and more brittle. So it's just something to really pay attention to over the years to help avoid any unnecessary or preventable breaks that can happen as you age. Class over. I've been getting healthy myself for a while. I've been exercising for a long time. I've been helping other people get healthy for a long time too. And I've made a few mistakes along the way, and I've seen other people make these same mistakes over and over and over again. I'm here to help you today not make the same mistakes I've made. And I'll say these are probably more so beginner mistakes, but they can certainly happen at any level of experience. So while maybe they're more common with beginners, people have been doing this for a while, still make these mistakes. Let's go into the first one. It's called body recomposition. So a body recomposition or body recomp is when we kind of try to do those at the same time. We try to shed the fat that we have while gaining more muscle and get this nice, smooth transition into a more leaner, better looking physique. Now, the problem with the body recomp is the amount of people that try to do it and the amount of people who can actually do it, who fall into the few categories of those who are kind of eligible to do it, those numbers don't match up at all. So if you try to do a body recomp, there's really three things that you need to have one of these three things happening. Number one is that you need to be new to the gym, or it's your first time back in many years. See, when we work out, we damage our muscles, we rest, we recover, we get stronger, we get bigger muscles, whatever. We recover and we adapt to that stimulus so our bodies can push through it the next time easier. Now, when you're new to the gym, the amount of stimulus you need is a super small amount. You just don't need a whole lot of stimulus. A brand new person to the gym can virtually walk in, walk out, and see some progress. Like, it's almost that easy. So that's stipulation number one. You need to be new, or it's been a while, you're coming back. The second stipulation is being overweight or obese. And the reason why these people can body recomp a little easier is because they have such a large storage of energy built up that their body can draw from that a little bit to help preserve the muscle and actually be able to lose that fat while gain the muscle. And so the third one is using PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, things like that. I'm not going to get into that, but that is part of this as well. I'm not saying you have to use PEDs, but if you do, it can make this process easier. But I am not encouraging anyone to do that. If that is a choice you want to make based off your own research, then okay. That's your decision. Back to being overweight or obese and or new to the gym. At some point in your journey, neither one of those will apply to you anymore. At some point, you're going to be going to the gym long enough that you're no longer getting those newbie gains. And at some point, hopefully, you're losing that body fat, so you're not going to be obese or overweight anymore. And the problem is at that point, when you're no longer newbie and no longer overweight, it's probably not where you want to be yet as a final body recomp. You probably haven't gotten to that picture-perfect physique that you were looking for. Your physique, you're going to look better than you did before, yes, without a doubt. But maybe you're not quite there yet. So what should we do instead? Or what's maybe a better track? Or once you do get to that point, if this is the road you try to go on, what's next? If you're what's kind of known as skinny fat, so maybe you have a little bit of a gut, but you don't have a whole lot of muscle. A lot of times these people think, I just need to lose this fat and I'll look good. In reality, those people actually do better if they bulk up first, gain some muscle, and then lose the fat. So imagine this. Imagine you don't have much muscle, and then you lose the fat that you do have. After that, you're just skin and bones. Like there's nothing to build, or you don't have a frame. You don't have a muscular frame to your body anymore. So if you can bulk up first, gain that muscle, and don't just be an absolute meathead eating 8,000 calories a day, but do it systematically and in an appropriate manner, it's going to give you a better physique faster that you're happier with versus going down skin and bones, then trying to build up. Now, on the other side, we have people who maybe define themselves as thick or husky or big boned. Those people generally have a good deal of muscle already on their frame, and then they have some extra fat on top of it. In that situation, it's probably better to cut down first, trim off that body fat, because now you still have this frame of muscle on you, and losing that body fat is going to help shape that frame better. But neither one of these two processes, cutting or bulking, are exclusively what you're going to need. More than likely, you're going to have to do both, but not at the same time. That's a body recomp. You're going to have to do a cut and then a bulk phase, and then a cut phase and the bulk phase. And if you look at this, in a 5-year, 10-year window, you can bulk up, put 10 pounds of muscle on, and then cut down, lose some of that fat. Bulk up, cut back down. Bulk up, cut back down. And you stair-step your way up to a better and better physique over time. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is that, yes, we should not be overweight or obese, and that's probably the first priority, is to get out of that phase. But after that, you have a large window, usually, of life left, that you don't have to rush this process so fast and take advantage of that time. And without a doubt, probably the most important thing is that you enjoy the journey. Because if you're not enjoying every step of the process and you're not taking it for what it's worth, that's when we start trying to find shortcuts and we start trying other things that maybe aren't the best for us. Or we try to do a body recomp when we're no longer appropriate for that. And it's just like spinning your wheels in mud. You're just not going to go anywhere. You may, on a body recomp, you may gain a pound of muscle and lose half a pound of fat. But that may take you like 6 months. And that is some pretty slow progress. Where you could have done that much faster if you just bulked up and then cut back down. Now, this whole process, bulking and cutting, there's the nutrition side of it, and then there's also the training side of it. Now, the training side, personally, when I'm on a bulk or a cut, I honestly don't do things a whole lot differently. I'm still taking a lot of my reps and sets close to failure. I'm trying to stay intense with my exercises, doing compound lifts, following those with isolation movements, all the meanwhile listening to my body and not trying to burn myself out or get injured. Now, the nutrition side of things, that's what changes bulking or cutting mostly, is my nutrition. And that brings me to the next mistake, which is protein intake. I think many people target too much protein in their diet. Personally, the first recommendation I ever heard was 1 gram of protein per body weight. That's just like, that's what you do. You sleep 7-8 hours, you drink a gallon of water, you get 1 gram of protein per body weight, and you work out 5 days a week. Like that's just how it is. And if you're not doing that, you're missing out on all the gains. Your protein requirements truly depend on your age, your weight, your body fat percentage, your activity levels. It's not as black and white as 1 gram of protein per body weight. Hey, it's me. So this is the part of the podcast where there's usually a sponsor, and I don't know if you know this, but you are actually our first sponsor. And you can do that by liking and subscribing to the podcast, to YouTube channel, or even both. That would be awesome. I think I've taken up enough of your time. Let's get back to the episode. If you're a 45-year-old just getting back to the gym for the first time in a long time person, you probably don't need as much protein as Patrick Mahomes, quarterback for the Chiefs. You know, athletes need a lot more, and I think this is one of those situations where we see if athletes do this, I should do this. You know, it's good for them, it's going to be good for me. But we're very different from high-level athletes, and to try to take their training, their nutrition into our lives is probably not the best thing for us. I think, too, it can discourage people. You know, if I'm supposed to do this 1 gram thing, and I'm not even close, like, what am I doing? Why am I still doing this? I can't even get close to it. I think that mantra can come into people's minds, and then they just give up because they weren't good enough. Or that's not even what your goal should be. And you got upset and quit because you couldn't hit an unattainable goal. So like I said, a little bit of tease there. Let's build muscle, nutrition. I think you'll really enjoy that if you want to know more about how much protein you actually need. We're going to give specific recommendations based on different activity levels and different, lifestyles in that episode. So make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. This next big mistake, admittedly, I probably did for way too long, and we're going to get into it right after the break. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I have one request of you. I'm looking to answer your questions. I have 2 categories here. I want questions that can be answered in a couple minutes, and then I want questions that maybe are going to take a little bit more time, possibly a whole episode. You can submit your questions to ahealthycontrol@gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of today's episode. I think there's many names and forms of this mistake, but let's just call it what it is. Ego lifting. Now, don't get me wrong. I love to max out at the gym. I'm a bit of a competitive guy. If I see someone else doing 100 pounds for 10, I'll try 100 pounds for 11, Is that always good? It pushes you. That's great. But at some point, you got to realize you're doing yourself more harm than good. I love to max out. I love to lift heavy, but I also don't love being hurt and injured. And ego lifting can definitely do that to you. One phrase I love in my training is if you cannot maintain the form, you do not deserve the weight. What this means is if you are lifting, but it looks bad, it feels bad, maybe it hurts, maybe you're just cheating, you're swinging your body too much or whatever, you didn't actually do that weight. And there's nothing wrong with maxing out. There's nothing wrong with lifting heavy or pushing your body, but you have to be smart when you do it. And it's almost as easy as, hey, let's program this where in a month you can go do a heavy single, or in a month you can and do whatever the heck you're trying to achieve and systematically progress your body towards that goal. If you haven't worked out in 3 weeks and then you go in to hit a heavy single, you're trying to max out on something, it's probably not going to go well. Whereas if you did 2 weeks of triples or hitting it for 3 reps, and then you did a week of a double or hitting it for 2 reps, and then you did 1 week where you maxed out, you have set your body up for that weight. Now, if you maxed out yesterday and you try to max out today and you want to max out tomorrow and something else, probably not setting yourself up for success. There's probably too much intensity all at once. And always training in that max range and always, being on the verge of failing or, I've heard it said before somewhere, I don't know where, but maxing out is showing the progress you've put in. Where the progress, the unfun stuff, when you hit a set of 5, most people aren't bragging about, I hit X amount of weight for 5 reps, whatever. And that's what builds up your 1 rep max. Your 1 rep max is just showing all the work you've put in. But if all you're doing is 1 rep maxes, or you're on this crappy program and you don't really follow it and you just kind of do what you want for that day, take your ego out of it, hit weights that you know you can hit, stop failing on sets of 8 because you chose a weight too high because the guy next to you had a bigger weight. Plan your training cycles accordingly. And I promise if you can add 5 pounds to your squat in 3 months and you do that for a year and now you've had 20 pounds and then you do that for 10 years and now you add 200 pounds to your squat, that's way cooler than maxing out every day and it didn't go anywhere. Again, this goes back to kind of the body recomp of look at your full training career. Even if you're just a everyday gym goer, you still have 20, 30, 40 years of exercising under your belt, or you could, or you can, and you have to look at it from the big eye in the sky and realize the bigger picture and put your ego aside because nothing will set you back as much as continually being injured because you weren't listening to your body. So what are some things you can do here? I videoed myself lifting for years. And I wasn't doing this to put on social media to gain a bunch of followers and blah, blah, blah. I did it so I could look at it and make sure my technique and my form are correct. Will you get weird looks in the gym from this? Sometimes. Sometimes people looked at me funny or, they assumed one thing or another because I was videoing myself lifting. Who cares? Who truly cares? You can also get a coach or a mentor or someone who's been in the game, someone who's been at the gym for a long time, whether it's even your big brother or friend or whatever. Have someone help you along the way because the gym can be a wonderful place and it can truly change your life if you treat it correctly, if you do it correctly. But with that mentor, with that coach, if you try to learn from people online, never copy someone else's form. So if you see someone benching one way, if you see somebody squatting one way, or someone in the gym comes up to you and say, hey, you're squatting wrong, try pointing your feet forward. Unless they're a very educated person on the squat, probably don't listen to them. The only person who's going to know how to squat properly is your body. And you have to figure out your own body. Our squat and deadlifting and all of our lifting techniques is based on our anatomical selves. It's based on how your hips are structured, how your shoulders are structured, your limb lengths, and all this other stuff. And the only person that knows that is your body. It's your job to figure out how your body needs to lift to be as strong as you want to be as big as you want to be as fit as you want to be, whatever your goals are. You have to learn your own body. Yes, others can help you. Others can have experience. I have plenty of experience in this realm of teaching myself, teaching others how to listen to their bodies. But that's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of repetition. When you're lifting, video yourself so you can see what it looks like visually and pay so much attention to how your body moves. It's all you think about in that time. You don't even know that there is a clown and a monkey dancing behind you because you're so focused on how your body is moving. And this ego lifting brings me right to my next point of no rest days. When I first started, especially my powerlifting journey, I ran a program called 531, super common beginner powerlifting program. So essentially in a 4-week time, you do a week of 5s or 5 reps. You do a week of 3, a week of singles, and then a deload, or essentially when the weight's a little bit lighter. That way it helps with recovery and things like that. Now this was a 4-day program meant to be over 4 weeks, so 16 days of training. And I typically would finish that in about 16 to 18 days. Like, I just would not take rest days. I hated it, thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. I'd much rather be lifting than resting, blah, blah, blah. Now, that was probably one of the dumbest things I've done in my training career. I did learn a little bit, and I started taking rest days on the weekends. So I trained Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday rest days. Now, what happened to my body from 5 straight days of training is that by Thursday, I was kind of tired and things didn't move as well. And by Friday, I was really tired and things really didn't move well. And once I actually dialed it in, once I, got my life together here, I improved my squat by 100 pounds in 1 year, and my form improved incredibly, and I didn't have any more aches and pains and injuries, and I just felt so much better overall. When we train, we break down our muscles. They need to get repaired. If we don't give them time to repair, if we don't have rest days or recovery days, things are not going to get better. Now, I've worked with a lot of people who want to train or work out. Well, let me back up here. When I say train, that's just what I've always called it for myself. I was training towards my goals. So training, working out, whatever it is, exercising, okay? So I worked with people who have wanted to train 5 or 6 days a week, and they want to go 100% all the time. And then about 3 months later, I never see them again because they burnt out, they got hurt, they couldn't keep up the lifestyle because, work and family got in the way or whatever. The biggest thing that's going to get you to where you want to be, either physique-wise, strength-wise, exercise, whatever it is, but exercise-related, the biggest thing that's going to get you there is sustainability. If you cannot sustain the schedule, if your body cannot sustain the training, you're probably not going to succeed. So do not sleep on your rest days. Don't overtrain yourself. And make sure the schedule is something that you can do. And it's 100% okay to take time away. If you need a couple of weeks away from exercising, if you need a couple of months, it's okay. Just get back to it eventually. I've taken probably about a 6-month hiatus before, maybe even a little bit longer another time. I've taken 2 notably long hiatuses in my training career because my schedule just didn't allow it anymore. My mentality wasn't there. It wasn't good for me anymore. Now, I still stayed active. I was still walking, still doing other things. But for whoever needs to hear this, number 1, it's okay to take rest breaks. And number 2, it's okay just to take a break. And I think this actually segues extremely well into our 5th topic here, our 5th mistake. And that is develop your why. Why do you want to get stronger? Why do you want to get healthier? Why do you want to have more muscles? Is it because you want to look good for the opposite gender? That's totally fine. If that's your goal, that is totally fine. If it's because you want to go compete in something, whether it's sports or barbell sports like a powerlifting, Olympic lifting, or bodybuilding, great. Whether you just want to be bigger and have more muscle, cool. If you want to live a longer, healthier life, I'm all about that as well. Whatever it is, figure out your why and your purpose. And this is going to do a lot of things for you. First of all, it's going to help keep you on track. If I know that my goal is to live a healthy life, to have, good cholesterol numbers, good heart rate, good blood pressure, all those health statistics, then every time I don't want to go to the gym and work out, I can think about my goals. If my goals is to be as strong as I physically can, but I don't want to work out today, I'm not taking a step towards my goals. I'm hurting myself and my own progress into my own goals. If I'm doing a set of 15, but I'm on rep number 12, and I just want to quit because it hurts and it's heavy and I'm getting tired and I'm breathing hard and blah, 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 remember your why, remember your goals, and remember your purpose. Why are you doing that specific exercise? Why are you at the gym today? Why do you want to be a good example for your kids and your family on health? Why? That why is going to be the reason that you never give up. I hope you can learn from some of my prior mistakes and other common mistakes I see. And, anyone can go to the gym and mess around and see some progress. Anyone can do a 90-day workout plan and feel a little bit better. Sustainability and your why and intent are going to be the reasons that you see long-term progress while you are going to live a healthy, active lifestyle and achieve everything you want to.
Thank you for listening to a Healthy Control podcast.
You can find us at YouTube at A Healthy Control and make sure you're subscribed. You can also reach me at ahealthycontrol@gmail.com with any comments or questions you'd like answered on the show. Reminder, A Healthy Control podcast is for entertainment purposes only and not in lieu of any medical advice. If you have any concerns about your health, please speak to a healthcare provider. But first, let's go to health class. So today's lesson is all about sunshine and vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is referred to as a sunshine vitamin, and it's a vitamin that our body produces when it's in the sun. And it's a vitamin our body produces when it's in the sun. And really, you don't need a whole lot, about 10 to 30 minutes once or twice a week. For people who are more fair skinned, you're going to need less time, and the darker skin you are, the more time you're going to need in the sun to get the same amount of vitamin D. Also, the more north you live or further from the equator, the longer time you're going to need to spend in the sun. Again, it's still 10 to 30 minutes, a couple times a week, so we're not talking 10 minutes versus 4 hours a day. And as always, be careful with your sun. You don't want to get too much exposure, sunburn, risk of sun cancer, and those type of things. So there is a fine line between getting enough sun and not enough sun. So there is a fine line between getting enough sun and then getting too much. But let's say for whatever reason you can't get any sun. So how else can you get vitamin D? Well, it's in some foods. It's not super common, but it's in your fatty fish like your salmon, your tuna, your trout. You can also do cod liver oil. It's in there as well. And then some fortified foods as well. And there's fortified like whole milk with vitamin D. You can get like fortified orange juice, cereals, and yogurts. Are these as good as the sun? Probably not, but it's better than nothing. Egg yolks also contain a little bit of vitamin D. So for all of those egg white only peoples, you need to maybe eat an egg yolk. Some types of cheeses and then some types of mushrooms will also have some vitamin D in it. And what does this vitamin D actually do? I've always heard of it, but it's not something I really knew much about. More or less, it plays a pretty big role in maintaining healthy bones by helping absorb the calcium from the bloodstream. By helping absorb the calcium. As we get older, our body and our bones become more and more brittle. So it's just something to really pay attention to over the years to help avoid any unnecessary or preventable breaks that can happen as you age. Class over.